In this video, we will see how to solve quadratic equations by factoring. The equations that we will be solving are quadratic trinomials, where we have a leading coefficient of 1. We have our second term as a linear term, and our third term is a constant number. Okay, to solve by this method, our trinomial has to be equalized to 0. Now, we are going to factor, as we saw in our factorization video. We will open two parentheses, and then our first term is going to be the square root of the first term in our trinomial, in this case x. Now, to find the terms that go after x in both parentheses, we need to find two terms whose product, or whose multiplication, gives us 6. And those same two numbers, their addition, has to give us the term in the middle, 5. Here we see that if we multiply 2 times 3, we get 6. And if we add 2 and 3, the result is 5. So the terms that go after the x's in the parentheses, one of them is a 2, positive 2, and the other one is positive 3. But now this is an equation and it's equalized to 0, so both of our parentheses, the product gives us also 0. Now, when we are done factoring our trinomial, we are going to apply the zero product rule, which says that if the product of two terms, in this case x plus 2 and x plus 3, gives us 0 as a result, one or both of them must have a value of 0, because the only product that gives us 0 as a result is multiplying something times 0. So applying the zero product rule to this problem, we have to equalize to 0 each parenthesis. And we start with the first one, x plus 2. X plus 2 equals 0. Then we clear x. X equals minus 2. This is our first result. And we continue by doing the same with the second parenthesis. X plus 3 is 0. Therefore, x equals minus 3. And this is our second solution to the problem. Now, to check if our solutions are correct, we have to substitute both values of x in our equation. Let's check our first solution, x equals minus 2. We will substitute the value of x in our original equation. So x squared, that will be minus 2 squared, plus 5 times x, which is 5 minus 2, plus 6 has to be 0. And we solve. The square of minus 2 is 4. 5 times minus 2 is minus 10. Then we have plus 6 equals 0. 4 minus 10 is minus 6. Plus 6 has to give us 0. Minus 6 plus 6 is 0. Therefore, we are correct. So the first solution, x equals minus 2, is correct. But now we have to check our second solution. X equals minus 3. X squared would be minus 3 squared plus 5 times x, which is minus 3, plus 6 has to be 0. The square of minus 3 is 9. 5 times minus 3 is minus 15. Plus 6 has to be 0. 9 minus 15 is minus 6. Plus 6 has to be 0. Minus 6 plus 6 is 0. Therefore, we are correct. Let's solve a second example. We see in this second example that we have to solve the equation x squared minus 10x plus 27 equals 6. We have a trinomial. But if we see this trinomial isn't equalized to 0, it's equalized to 6. Now, to solve by factoring, my trinomial has to be equal to 0. So we are going to arrange the equation by passing that number 6 to the left. We get x squared minus 10x plus 27 minus 6 equals 0. I can simplify it by subtracting 6 to 27. And I get x squared minus 10x plus 21 equals to 0. Now, our square trinomial is correct because we have a leading coefficient of 1, we have our linear term, we have our constant number, and it's equalized to 0. So now I can solve by factoring. We open our two parentheses and equalize to 0. We take the square root of the first term, which in this problem is x, and then we find two numbers that when we multiply them gives us 21, but when we add those same two numbers, it gives us minus 10 as a result. Well, we know that 3 times 7 is 21, but if I add 3 plus 7, it will give me plus 10, and I need negative 10. So that means that both numbers have to be negative, because minus 3 times minus 7 gives us positive 21, and minus 3 plus minus 7 gives us minus 10. Therefore, our numbers are minus 3 and minus 7. Now that we are done factoring, we will solve our solution by applying the serial product rule, where we equalize to 0 each parenthesis. For our first term, we have that x minus 3 equals 0. Therefore, x equals positive 3. This is our first solution. To find our second solution, we do the same with the second term. X minus 7 equals 0. Therefore, x equals plus 7. And this is the solution to our quadratic equation. This was a process to solve a quadratic equation in the form x squared plus bx plus c equals 0 by factoring. Thank you for watching this video.